that's what you try to keep in your mind, because I've had lots of other ultra runners tell me that. You're going to feel bad at some point of the race, but then all of a sudden you're going to feel good again, usually. So you hope to get to that point. And I didn't believe it until it happened, and all of a sudden, wow, what happened there?
Running 100 miles seems impossible, and maybe even kind of crazy. And it is, but we believe in big crazy dreams. That's why we ran 100 miles. It was such a life-changing experience for us, we decided to devote this podcast to preparing and inspiring you to run your first ultra race.
Are you ready to feel the highest highs and the lowest lows? Are you ready to do what you once thought was impossible? Are you ready for your trail to 100? Thank you for joining me today here on Trail to 100, the podcast made to help you finish your first 100-mile race. My name is Jacob Bateman, and today I was joined with Tim Sanchez, the leader of the Homies on the Run. Tim started a group called Homies on the Run, which you'll hear about plentiful in this podcast. Basically just a trail running, ultra running group of friends, their experiences, getting together, running in group runs, and getting out and supporting one another, even if it is just virtually. And so Tim's created a great community with this Homies on the Run group, and I had to have him on to ask him about what that was like, creating that community, where it started, what it's grown into, and what basically community has brought into his life since joining the ultra running world, and what it's meant in getting him to his ultra running finishes. Tim also shared his experience of running his first 100-miler and what it took to get there. And it took more than one attempt, guys. So great stories, great insights. So let's get to it. Well, Tim, thank you for joining me today here on Trail to 100. I have been looking forward to this one for a couple weeks now, to talk to the legendary Homie on the Run, Tim Sanchez. So thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, Jacob. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited. It's my first one, so I'll just,
I can't believe
podcast,
that.
Yeah. So
you are Tim Sanchez, the leader of the Homies. Yeah. Like, no one's had you on a podcast yet?
No one's brought me out. Yeah, you're the first one that's actually got me to do it. I've heard some people, talk about it sometimes, but no one's ever done anything yet. So it's kind of interesting. So
I actually, when I reached out to you, I thought to myself, how have I not reached out to Tim yet? I had that thought as I was thinking of potential guests, and I think I saw a Facebook post that you did about the Homies on the Run 100-mile challenge, and I was like, we haven't had Tim on. Like, I feel like I'm doing the ultra running community a disservice. So I'm excited to chat with you, Tim. I've heard a lot about you. I've talked to you at a few events. And you've always seemed like a really genuine, good guy who promotes a lot of good and light in our community. So Tim, speaking of that though, let's just first start off this. We have a lot of listeners who are in the Utah community, and might not, and I know Homies goes further than the Utah community, but what is the Homies on the Run group that you have started and have really kicked off around here?
Well, I mean, it's actually gone back quite a ways. I've been running for 45 years. So when I was younger, my teenage years, I had some of my friends that we used to do races and runs with. I mean, we weren't calling ourselves Homies on the Run yet, but they were kind of my homies from back in the day that I used to hang out with. And, years have gone by. In about 2012, some of my friends from back then, they were starting to get out and running a little bit again and wanted to do some things with me. And so I started challenging them to some races. We started doing some Spartan races to get them out, and some other like duathlons and things like that, and some team relays and some triathlons. And I can't remember who it was who said something to us one time, and I said, "Yeah, this is me and my homies on the run." And all of a sudden we were like, "Hey, that's a pretty good name. We should start making some shirts with this on there." And from there, I just slowly started making things up, other challenges to my friends. And then I started making a Facebook page. And, I didn't really do much until then, about 2012, 2013, started doing a Facebook page, putting little things here and there out, and slowly by slowly people started coming out saying, "Hey, what's this homies on the run thing? I really like this name. What's going on?" And we're just out challenging, having a good time, getting together, doing fun races and challenge each other to some events. And slowly it's just kind of taken off. I finally started doing some medals and some other things over some events over the years, and some challenge coins, and challenge people to come out and do some kind of a race or whatever we decide to do. And finally kind of just worked up recently to the 100-mile challenge that you were talking about. uh I noticed that people, because I've done a couple 100-milers, and a lot of people don't do 100-milers. It's just the time that you get, you might get 36 hours at the longest, sometimes less than that. And a lot of people, I can't do 100 miles in that time. And I started realizing, looking at Strava and looking at everybody who's following the Strava club, the Homies club, it's like nobody even does 100 miles in a week. If you do 30 miles, 40 miles a week, that's a good week sometimes for people. So I thought I would come up with a challenge and a belt buckle that would give you a whole week to try to see if you can get 100 miles in.
Yeah.
And so far it's been pretty good. A lot of people have been doing it. We got like 8 people. I mean, we just barely started it, and we've got 8 people that's already finished now.
Already, wow.
Yeah, and I made up 25 buckles, and all 25 have been spoken for already.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've already had
Already
people send me the money and say, "Hey, I want this buckle, and I want." So I was like, "Oh wow, it's doing a little better than I thought."
yeah,
So we'll kind of see what
that's
goes from there.
awesome.
But yeah,
And you just did the 100-mile challenge last week, correct?
I did mine this last week and just finished up on Sunday. And
So how did that go for
well,
you?
that's actually, a lot tougher than you think. Me and a guy named Alex Mercado, he did most of it with me. We did the first 70 miles together, each day after work. So we work all day long, and then you get off work and you go knock out 15, 12 miles every night, and then on the weekends, we kind of went our own different ways and ran and finished up our races, did some mountain runs, some on the trails, on the flat roads. But trying to knock out 100 miles in a whole week is tougher than you really think. It's almost like it's easier to go out and just do it and get it done,
Yeah.
36-hour time limit. And it just seems like, because when you're working with work and family, and then trying to get some runs in, it's like, man, but it turned out pretty good. I ended up with 102 miles, and with over 10,000 feet of elevation gain in my run. So, I was happy with it.
How did you
Mm.
break that up through the week?
Yeah, I did, like, during the week we were doing like 15, 12, 15, 12, 15. And then on the weekends, I went out and did another 22 miles on Saturday. And then I finished up with 10 miles on Sunday. So I did 7 days in a row. I ran 7 days and just kind of broke it all up in pieces, and was hoping on the weekend I could get it done. And, I was done. When I hit that 100 miles finally, I was, I was glad to be over.
Do you know how much total time, like the hours you were out
Well,
to get that
I'm
done?
not sure what the total time was, but the moving time, like on Strava, I was out there 20 hours and 53 minutes on moving time.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the actual, I was out there longer, of course, because you're stopping and you're talking to people you
Yeah.
run into, and plus, resting, getting a drink. So
So you basically, it took you about a day of your week,
yeah,
just
night,
in
night,
sections.
yeah, in sections. Doing it
Yeah.
at night, because like I said, it's like, you get off at 5 o'clock at night and you run for 2.5 hours or more. sometimes
Yeah.
depending how hard you're doing your runs, where you're. So yeah,
That's a
so
fun challenge.
yeah, it is because
That's really fun.
it is because you work, you go run, you go home, eat, shower, go to sleep, wake up, repeat it again. It seems like the
Yeah.
whole week, so it's kind of pretty challenging.
Yeah. I could definitely see it. Kind of like I know I've done the Goggins. I don't know if you've heard of the Goggins 4x4x48 challenge.
Uh-huh.
Uh, have you heard of that
No, I
one?
haven't. No.
So, so David Goggins created it. You run 4 miles every 4 hours
Mm.
for 48 hours straight. So you're basically you're running 4 miles every four
It'll be
hours
4
in the
hours.
2 day.
Okay,
Yeah.
I've heard of
So no
some of them.
matter what
Yeah.
no matter what time of day, you have to be out at that when that's been 4 hours.
And do it. What?
Yeah, so you're running 48 miles,
Oh,
so close to basically a 50 miler in 2 days. And I remember when I did that challenge, I was like, I think I'd actually prefer to just run 50 miles straight,
yeah.
you know,
That's
because
yeah.
getting up at 1 a.m. running,
And
then you're
running.
not falling to sleep until like 2:30, and then you're up at 5 to run again. You're only getting sections of 2 to 3 hours of sleep at a time.
Exactly. That's what's rough. Kind of sounds
Yeah,
like some of the Ragnars. I've done some of the
yeah.
ultra Ragnars, the trail ones, and you sleep, and then you got to get up at certain times, like in the middle of the night, to go run and sleep again and try to run. And so, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Do you have is that homie buckle somewhere around you by chance?
I have it downstairs.
Oh, okay. It's all good.
Yeah.
It's a pretty
I guess
cool buckle. I saw it.
no, as I say, it's a regular belt buckle, good size buckle, just like you get at any other 100 miler.
Yeah. It's got a nice shine to it though, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think so. I get a lot of compliments on it, and I've had some ultra runners that done plenty of 100 milers before, and they said that's the best looking one they've ever seen. I was like,
No,
really? I was like, wow, that's a compliment. Yeah.
it is a good looking buckle. I
Yeah.
saw that and for a second I was wondering if I had 100 miles in me when I saw your buckle.
Well, I plan on doing it every year since it's went well, and try to change up the
Yeah,
color a little bit or something, or do something so it looks different each year. Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So Tim, you mentioned that you ran for 45 years, is that right?
Yeah. I started when I was 15 and I just turned 60. And I
Wow.
was I was mainly a road runner for most of my life. And when I was younger, it was about, how fast you can go. I stuck with mainly like, 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons. That was my big thing. Once in a while throw in a marathon here and there. But the funny thing is like back then, it was like I hated doing marathons because they were too long and too hard to train for, so. But then after my late 40s, I started picking up running again after the kids. I was running the whole time, but there was times where I didn't run a lot because of the kids, playing soccer and all their sports, their activities. And then once they were kind of growing up, then it was like I started getting back to running. And then in kind of getting into my 50s, I started to do more trail running and met up with some ultra runners and started training with them. And they were all 100 milers. And they started asking me, well, you want to pace me at the Wasatch 100 or the Bear 100 or Salt Flats? They started asking me. So I started pacing. And then they got talked into doing one myself. They're saying, hey, you got to do one. You've been pacing now. You got to get out and do 100. And, I didn't do my first 100 until I was 55, almost 55. And started ultra running about 53, 4 years old. Is when I started doing ultra stuff and just kind of got addicted and started going from there.
What
You know,
about the ultras like drew you to move over into that
I love,
area?
I just love the mountains. I love being out in nature. I love, you know, the things you see. And I've been to places all over the mountains now that I have never been to before here locally, even locally. I've seen things I've never been to until I started ultra running, getting clear up there in the backcountry and running, and have no idea that there was things there, places I have never seen. Because
Yeah.
hiking's good and great, but still that only takes you so far sometimes. You go out for a hike and you go out for a 3 or 4 mile hike. You get into ultra running and you're doing 20, 30 mile runs sometimes, clear back in the backcountry, and so I just love the experience of it. And when I started ultra running too, I also started running with people, where when I was a road runner, I was doing a lot of stuff by myself all the time, just training hard, and then the ultra world, I started getting together with groups of people and making it an experience out there, an adventure, and going to see things like we said, hey, there's something, you want to go see over here. Let's go see it. Okay, let's go. It's been awesome.
And so you just started inviting people to just go on runs with you. Is that so? That's what I'm understanding about,
Yeah.
like, kind of the origins of
Yeah.
homies is
Yeah.
just like, hey, let's sign up for a race or whatever, like the Spartan race, but
Yep.
let's train for this, but
Yeah.
also let's just go
Let's
on a
go.
Saturday run.
Yeah, and especially since when I started getting into ultra stuff, I wanted to run with somebody, not by myself necessarily, way back there in case something happened,
Yeah.
get hurt. And so I started saying, hey, I'm going out here this weekend. Anybody want to go? And people started coming. And then finally, people were also saying, hey, well, I'm going over here. We're going to go do this. Do you want to come and run with me? And oh, yeah. So started working both ways, and everybody sets up different adventures. And anyway, it's been working out really great.
Did you ever see the homies on the run turning into what it's turned into today?
No, I was just doing it just for my friends, really, at first, just to have a good time, have fun, and just really be a goofball with it, and enjoy it. And I didn't think, and all of a sudden people started joining, and then people like, well, how do I do this homies on the run thing? I said, well, just join the Facebook page and see when we go for a run and come out. And,
Yeah.
as simple as that. How do I? And now all of a sudden it's picked up pretty good. And, I got quite a few people wanting to come out
Yeah.
for runs and do other things. Yeah.
And one of the coolest swag lines in the ultra running world. When did you come up with the idea and the logo of like creating t-shirts and hats for Homies on the Run Club?
Around 2012, when we started calling ourselves Homies on the Run, when I came up with the name, at first I was just doing those spray paint stencils. I'd go get some cotton shirts at the store, really cheap ones, and I would made the little stencils or whatever. It says Homies on the Run. I put it on there, and that t-shirt spray stuff, you start spraying it all over, and it would say Homies on the Run, and that was our first shirts. Were like that, just homemade at home in that. And then eventually I started having some made up, and there's a lady that I have that does this print on hers, and I have her made these up for me. And my daughter actually came up with the logo, and then I have her, she has a little press at her house that she makes up shirts, and, so, and then I started making up some hats and other things, different hats and beanies and, stickers and patches and, so yeah.
Good. Well, if anybody's in the ultra running world, there is homies gear scattered throughout the United States, isn't there, Tim?
Yeah, there's some in other states and that, and I've had people when they go on vacations take their stuff too, and then they'll send them to me and post them like, oh, I'm over here, and I had one person over in Germany and things like that, and out of the country, and yeah, and then they'll send me pictures because I ran a race over here and I wore your hat or something, or I wear, yeah. So it is scattered around, and there is some people that live in some other places, in Colorado, California, Washington, that I know that have homie stuff, and they live there. Had me send it to them or got it from me one way or another, Yeah.
Well, I love the gear. I love it when you're there and on your Facebook page, and if you're listening out there, you can it's just Homies on the Run on Facebook, correct? They can just type that in the search bar and find it.
Yep, on Facebook, and there's Instagram and the Strava Club too, But
yeah. And I love it when you're putting up a homie sighting.
Yeah.
When people are posting pictures of themselves with Homies on the Run gear.
Yeah, so when I do
Yeah.
see that, yeah, that's what I do is post it saying I spotted a homie shirt or I spotted a homie's hat or something and post them.
And I just have to tell you this. I got a friend. So, we um I put on the Bear River Trail Race, which you came out for
Mhm.
last year for our inaugural year, and it was fun to have you. And I had a friend, a college roommate of mine, and that I was still pretty close to. He came out to volunteer, and the first thing he said to me, like, as we're like packing up and, I finally get a chance to talk to him. I'm like, yeah, well, how was volunteering, And he's like, dude, he's like, how about those homies?
Yeah.
And he was like, I love those homies.
Homies.
I guess he talked to some of you guys. He might have talked to you. I'm not sure,
Yeah, we
but
had a pretty good
he's
group
so,
there. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, you guys had a pretty good group there, and he just thought it was awesome. He's like, I loved what they had. They all had these homies on the run gear. He's like, it was just. He's like, that made my day seeing
Dang,
them all there together and running the race.
race. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
funny when I'll be out there at a race or some of us or even out on the trail on the mountain and you're running by and some other group or someone will be running by and you hear them yelling out, homies, there's the homie. It's like, or someone will stop and say, hey, you're that homie guy. You're right. I see your stuff on the, I'm like, yeah,
yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. And there was a picture on the Bear River Trail Race where you guys, the homies, seem to be running in a group
yeah,
there for a good portion of the race. And our race photographer kind of got a picture of you guys rounding the corner of a trail, and you were in the lead and the homies were kind of behind you. And I just couldn't help but think it's like we had an Avenger shot going on
on
there
there.
of all the homies running down the trail together.
And it was crazy because we didn't plan it that way. In about a good 15 miles of that race, I want to say, we were trading on and off, like, like the bikes do on the race where you have somebody pacing and going and we just all happened to be running at the same pace the whole time and kept on trading off and everybody would take the lead and we'd start running and it was pretty fun. That we were been talking about how we really enjoyed that race and how things went because we were so close, all six of us together the whole race. And
Yeah.
as we finished too, weren't that far apart as we finished
No.
at that race. It was an awesome race. It was
Yeah, you guys came in like back to oh, there's one, another couple minutes, there's another couple minutes, there's another. Yeah.
yeah.
Felt like in about a 10-minute period everyone had finished
Like
too.
everybody came
So
in. Yeah. Yeah. That's
yeah.
about right. Yeah. Yes.
So so Tim, I want to rewind a little bit since this podcast specializes in the 100-mile distance. You said your first 100-miler was 55 years old
Yeah. I want to say
around then.
55. Yeah. I think I was 55 when I did
What
that first.
100 was that?
So the first one I attempted was the Bryce Canyon 100, and I made it to 67 miles, and I stopped there on that one. I was feeling sick and I was cold, and kind of stopped probably for the wrong reasons. Instead of pushing it, but it was my first 100, and I
Yeah,
wasn't
you've never been
experienced,
there before.
never
Yeah.
been there before, didn't know what to do, how to get through it. And
Yeah.
then about 5, 6 months later, then I turned around and went and did the Grand Masters 100. And it was actually kind of pretty cool. Actually, I was 55. And when I hit midnight, I started on Friday. And when I hit midnight, it was my birthday. So I started at 55 and ended at 56. And so when I ended the race, but that was the first one I finished was the Grand Masters 100. You know,
Tell me a little bit about that race.
um, the cool thing about that race is it's all 50 and over people. So you have to be at least 50 years old and older. So that you don't have to run against all the youngsters or anything. So, but it's out in the desert, out in Mesquite, so it's not the most beautiful course. It can get really hot out there, even though it's in February or the end of February. But it was a great race. It was fun. They got some other distances there, some shorter ones as well. I've done it 6 years now over there, one of the distances. I've only done the 100 once, but 100K a couple times, 3 times, and the 50K a couple times. And
Yeah, I guess that's one I got to look forward to in 20
in
years.
20
So
years, I know everybody I train with all the time's like, well, I can be there in about 15 years, or I'm like, yeah,
they discriminate against me,
yeah,
Tim. They won't
yeah,
let me in.
yeah. They won't, not until you're 50, but they won't. You can try to dress like an old man, but I guess you can. No, it's funny.
Fudge a birth certificate or
Yeah.
something.
It was funny or just real quick. It was funny when I was
Yeah.
doing the 100K a couple years ago. I did like a selfie video of everybody starting, over my shoulder, and everybody starting, and it looked like a bunch of old people starting a race, kind of a bunch of 50 and over people, because I think you could hear all the knees cracking and all the back. Everybody's trying to get everything moved. Everybody's going really slow, trying to. Take off. Like, wow, that looks like a whole bunch of old people running a race.
I love that. Would be a start line I want to be at.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That would be a sight to behold. I know my father-in-law was what we were talking to a runner who was telling us that he had done that race a couple times, and my father-in-law's in the
Uh-huh.
in the
Okay.
Grandmaster division. I guess he would qualify.
He would
right?
qualify for it.
So he was when he heard about that, he's like, man, that's one I think I want to try out. And so he's already told me that he thinks that one's on the list for future races.
Well, good. It
Yeah.
should be.
Take me. So after that DNF at Bryce,
Okay.
did you feel discouraged? Did you feel like maybe you were
I did.
too old, or
No,
how was it?
I just felt more like I quit for all the wrong reasons. I stopped, because I had an upset stomach and I was cold. It was like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and where I was at, there was a really cold pocket, so I was shivering. But I still had like 16 hours to finish 33 miles. And so after when I quit and I left, and I started thinking, and then I threw up later on the way leaving, and then I kind of got a little nap, and I woke up, and all of a sudden I felt refreshed again. I was ready to go, and I was like, oh man, I should have just laid down right there at that aid station I was at and see what I could do to, I wish I went and stuck my finger in my mouth and made myself throw up and get all of that, what was in my stomach, what was bothering me out, and regroup and start. Because, I had 16 hours to do 33 miles. So I could have slept for a couple hours and did all that stuff or something and regroup. So that was the tough part, because I didn't feel like I was in any pain or anything like I had to quit. It was just like, I'm tired. I'm crying. I'm boo-hooing, I want to go home,
Yeah.
But
It's funny that you say mile 67 too. I don't know why this is the case with me. Maybe I just have some mental barrier. But mile 66 is, I've done 4 100s, and mile 66 every time, like right around that area. And I don't even have to know it's mile 66. It's funny. Like I'll just be at my lowest of lows, and then all of a sudden I'll look at my watch and I'll see like mile 66, and that range, that like late 60s range, is always punching me in the gut.
You got to stop looking at your watch.
I know, right? No, but it punches. I'm telling you, it's not when I look. I'll be feeling it all the feels before, and then all of a sudden I glance down, and then I'm like, of course. Of course, it's 66.
I know. I've had a lot of people telling me before I did my first one, like says, the race is like 2 races, the first 70 and then the last 30.
Yeah.
So you're getting right in that range where
you want to just turn it in.
Yeah.
I feel spent. I feel like I've given it my all, most of the time the gut's starting to turn at this point, oftentimes you're in the early morning just before the sun rises. Gosh. And you're just thinking like, you're realizing like, whoa, I still have, like a 50K to do here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I feel wrecked. How am I going to go up another 2
Yeah.
mountains or whatever it is, or go another 30 miles? I'm not going to be finishing till tonight, and that's almost the most discouraging. You're like, I'm going to be out here still the whole day.
Hey, and that
Yeah.
30 miles seemed so long at the end. You just did 60
Yeah.
something miles or whatever, 70 miles, and that seemed like it went by okay. So I was like, that 30 miles just seems forever, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, it does.
Mm.
So what happened then in the Grand Masters, your first time doing that,
And
to
so,
where you could get through that kind of,
well,
down part?
well, because of the first race, knowing what I knew, the Grandmasters again, I had some issues out there from the heat because it got so hot. I went from training in or 30-degree weather or whatever, 40-degree weather during the wintertime. And then I went down to Grandmasters in Mesquite and it hit like 80 degrees. And so that heat just killed me. So it was a rough race still, but my pacers, my crew, everybody just kept me moving. Even though I was crying and boohooing and I wanted to quit about mile 72 again there. And my pacers and my crew wouldn't let me. They said, okay, you're okay. You're just crying because you're tired. You're done. You're sore, and they just kept on getting me through it. I took a couple little power naps during that race and then kind of got up and finally, eventually I just kind of felt better in the last 20 miles and was able to just kind of, grit it in, to get down there. But it wasn't
Yeah.
an easy one either, so it was still rough, but it was still done in about 30 hours, but it's a flatter course there, so you can move a little quicker,
Yeah.
there. So, but that was still a rough one. I think on my third one, or when I went out on my second 100, which was the Bear 100, I was, you know, getting towards the end too, again, like mile 70, like you say. I was feeling kind of beat up and tired there a little bit too. And I was starting to wondering, I was slowing way down and I didn't know if I was going to get to the time limit. And I got to that last aid station at Ranger Dip, I think it's called. And you
Yeah.
got 8 miles left and you got one big hill and then 7 miles to finish. And I felt like I could barely walk into that aid station. And it was kind of weird. I got something to eat, got something to drink. And I don't know what happened. Some switch flipped. In that last 8 miles, I just crushed it in. I mean, that last 7 mile, after I got that first hill out of the way in the last 7 miles, I ran the whole race all the way down to the finish line. And to me, it felt like that was my best 100, even though I was like 30 minutes before the finish, you know,
Hmm.
it was slower, but it was like, it's kind of weird how ultra running can be, how 100 mile can be, you feel like you're going to die at 1 minute and the next minute, all of a sudden you feel great again. You're rejuvenated. And, it's like, what the heck, where's this coming from? It's an interesting sport, you know?
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It is.
And
It's funny how you also, that's your best 100, even though you were fighting cutoffs. Like you
yeah.
feel like that's one that you're like most proud of, it sounds like.
Yeah. Cause I came across the finish line feeling great. All of a
Yeah.
sudden when felt like I was dead, 8 miles back, like I'm not going to make it, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden something switched, it's just like, wow.
Yeah.
So so far I feel like that's been my best. Yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like you had to figure out the whole, like, even though you're in a low spot, don't walk off the course,
Yeah.
eat, get a nap, get something to drink, like change of clothes, whatever it is,
Hmm. Yeah.
change of socks and shoes, an ice pack, whatever.
Yeah.
So you had to learn the adjust, and your body might, reset a little bit so you
Yeah.
can then keep on keeping on.
Yeah, that's what you try to keep in your mind because I've had lots of other ultra runners tell me that. You're going to feel bad at some point of the race, but then all of a sudden you're going to feel good again, usually. So you hope to get to that point. And I didn't believe it until it happened, and all of a sudden, wow, what happened there?
So how many hundreds have you finished then?
I finished well with the homies challenge I just did. That's my third
Yeah.
finish.
third
But now
finish
I've
right
had
there.
3 DNFs, and I had 2 of them just recently before. I did try to do the Grandmasters again this year, and the heat was really bad down there again, and I had bad cramps and had to bail out at 73 miles on that. And then just before that, I tried to do the new Goat Rattler 100, and I had issues with cramping at that one too, and had to stop and that. So that's
So the
been some of my
cramps,
problems is cramps. I'm a heavy sweater, like a salt sweater, so I'm just not taking enough in, I guess, to keep me from
yeah.
cramping.
But Tim, what I love is that because I've observed you from afar on both those races and both those DNFs. I followed you, and I follow you on social media and have read your posts about them. And it seems like though, even though the DNFs come, you from what I've observed, you take no shame in it.
No,
Like
no,
you
I'm I'm definitely proud of what I do, and I enjoy the
yeah,
race while I'm out there, what I have done, and I still enjoyed it even though I DNF'd him. I just think, if you get to a point, it's better to stop and run another day than to hurt yourself and you're out for months or a year or whatever, or out for good because you destroyed yourself so bad trying to get to the finish. You do got to know when to say when if you're in trouble, if you're feeling like you're in trouble. In those last two DNFs, those ones I felt like I was in trouble with the cramps. I was cramping so bad and hard that I had to stop.
yeah.
You know,
I agree. I
oh,
agree wholeheartedly. It's not worth your long term health
yeah,
to
yeah, because there's more
get a.
race. There's more races to come.
So, Tim, did you realize the kind of community that you would be joining when you first got into the trails?
I didn't. I wasn't really sure.
Yeah,
What I was getting into. I just knew I liked the mountains better, and I started running them more. And didn't
yeah,
realize that the trail community it is different than the road when you're on there. How they support each other, like a lot of times in races out. Because you're out in the mountains, you're out in places. If someone is hurt or is feeling bad, it's funny how many you do see stop and try to see if they need anything. Do you need water? Do you need some food? Do you need this and that out there? Where sometimes on the road stuff, they're more sometimes trying to get their time done. So they may say, not that there's anything wrong with the road, you know, or the
yeah.
community. It just seems like it's a different type of community, trail and road, though. But, and I love them both. And I still do road races. I still do marathons and other things, but, the trails is where I'm most likely to see me at. So,
And what role would you say community has played in your life? Like, let's go the ultra running, the trail running
uh
community. What has it brought into your life since really diving into it?
um, it's just it seems like the more like some of the close bonding friendship, the support that we've been giving each other, out there on the trails and running and doing runs together, you know. But I've had a lot of, bonding with other runners, gotten closer and got to know them better. When you're out there on a long trail run, because you're out there so long, sometimes you could be out there 5, 6 hours, or more. You really get to know each other more. You're telling each other stories and their lives and, families and what they've done and what's happened in their life and what's happening now, you know. And it's interesting how much more that you've learned about people out there that I have learned, you know, since I've been
The,
doing the
the
trail stuff.
yeah, the human connection can. I agree with you. Like, and that's what. Gosh, you want to make friends, then start trail running, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like you really start bonding with people.
As I started running with others, and um it's just funny how I remember, asking pretty much a total stranger. I barely knew the guy to pace me at one of my hundreds because I was just desperate and I really needed someone to get me through the night. I really don't like running through the night alone.
Yeah.
Um, and that guy ended up coming out and which I'm so grateful for, and we ended up he's become one of my best friends. And
Yeah.
just that race alone, as we ran together, just the bond that was created, and I think we shared about 8 to 10 hours together on the trail that night. And I've had that happen, like you said, with multiple runners. When you're able to just get out on the trail and talk, and you get away from the hustle of life, and can share connection with one another. I agree. Um, and Tim, I one thing like I observed from you is you you go out and support a lot. Not only do you run, but you go out and support other runners who are running as well. Or I've seen you go out, like myself. You supported uh, my inaugural race that I put on, and you really helped me a lot in getting the word out to the race, and you were a huge blessing to my life. I felt like it was. I'm not gonna lie. I'll just share you my experience and what you did for me, Tim. Is as my wife and I were, we moved to Evanston, Wyoming a couple years ago. It's just about an hour, a little over an hour away from where you are down in Layton, and we were in Ogden before that. But and so we decided to something was just bugging me as I discovered this new trail system up here. Like there was no races or anything up here. Like I had no clue these trails were even up here until I moved up here. And so we decided to, let's put together a trail race. And so we started rolling things out, and I'm naive about I've never done this before about putting together a race. And as things got closer and there wasn't many signups, I was beating myself up because I'm like, I'm gonna lose my family money on this. Like, we got 20 signups, and I miscalculated funds, and I was just like, boy, if we don't get like, another 50 signups, like I was like, Melody, we're gonna be losing quite a bit of our own personal funds on this race. And so I was feeling really down, and I remember you all of a sudden started sharing it, and all these signups just started rolling in, and I know there was a lot of connections with your share, and you signed up as well, and I felt extremely grateful to you, Tim, for supporting our inaugural year race, and we got the amount of signups we needed to break even, and it was I don't know, I just when you started sharing it, it meant a lot to me because I felt like it made a difference in helping to bring notice to the race. So, like, that's my experience with you, Tim. And I know other people have had similar experiences with you where you've done something like that, or just shown up or helped get the word out about something. Used homies on the run for good, basically, is what I'm saying. What drives you to get out there? Because you're out a lot of weekends, Tim, at supporting people or at races. What
I don't,
drives you to do all this?
I don't know. There's just something that's just my addiction, I guess. It's just, there's something about it I just love. And if I go too long without doing it, I start feeling icky or bad, or whatever. Things aren't feeling right. I got to get out and go for a run, or I got to get out and run with people. I just, a lot of other people, or a lot of people I've met in the ultra running is doing it because of an addiction before, like a drug or an alcohol addiction. And somehow I just picked up running as my addiction. It's my drug, or, it's my alcohol. And I just, like I said, if I go too long without it, I start getting itchy or whatever. I gotta get out there. I got to do something. And, and I enjoy running with the people and being out there with the people, and, running with all my homies, I guess, saying it's just, I enjoy it, and I love supporting them, and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
get them out.
Well, you do a lot of good, Tim. Like I said, I felt your love, even if you didn't even realize what you were doing.
Yeah,
It meant a lot.
yeah. Well, thank you. It's been good. It's been fun. I've had really enjoying it, and and I hope it keeps on going. Until I
Yeah.
possibly can't run anymore. And I'm like, I hope I'm one of those guys that are 80, 90 years old and still out there still going at it. And
I agree with you 100%. Uh I always tell my parents because they think I'm insane for doing this. I'm like, I'm gonna be running hundreds when I'm in my 70s. So
yeah,
so
yeah,
that's my goal.
yeah.
That's my goal.
I know. Yeah, that's mine right now as well. And I get people I know for a long time who can't have a hard time getting around sometimes now, and they're like, "Oh, if you can keep doing it, you should just keep going. You keep just going." And everybody keeps on asking me about my knees too all these years. Like, well, how's your knees? And I says, fine. They just keep going, and if they're gonna keep going, you know, I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna.
Yeah. Amen to that, my brother.
Yeah.
So, how does somebody get their hands on Homies on the Run's gear and swag?
Well, that I haven't got anything officially made up. I'd like to one day where people can just like order it online or
Yeah.
something and get it.
Yeah.
Mainly it's been I make up some things and it's just through Facebook or something like that. I post on it like, oh, I got these homies hats, they're $20 or whatever they are, $25 a hat. Beanies, I'll do the same thing, and shirts once in a while. I haven't really done some shirts for a minute, but that's the only way I've been doing it is through the Facebook page basically, and say, and if you see me at a run or race and ask me, because lots of times sometimes I'll have them in my van or something. Oh yeah, you want a hoodie or you have a hat or something? Sometimes I'll have them there. And I just sell them out of the back of my vehicle.
There we go.
Yeah, just
Like a true homie.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I love it. Well, Tim, it's been nice to chat with you here for a few minutes and get some insights of how the original homie got started in the ultra running world. Um, we we have we like to ask every guest before we let them go, like for listeners out there who are wanting to run 100 miles for the first time, who want to achieve that goal, but have their doubts or have had even DNFs or setbacks, injuries, whatever it might be, life circumstances that come up. What would be your advice to them as they're trying to get to that goal that might seem insurmountable sometimes?
I mean, it's just basically just if you're not one of those top athletes that are winning it or crushing out there, just enjoy it and take your time, and try to keep with your training as best you can. But just, I mean, that's the biggest thing to me is just enjoy what you're doing. If you don't enjoy it, don't be out there. But there's going to be the hard times where you just want to quit and be done with it and asking yourself, why am I out here? 'Cause I've done that many a times. Like, why am I running? What am I doing out here? And then there's days you go out there and it's like, wow, this is a great day. I'm feeling great. I'm running. It's just that's what you just got to do. Enjoy it. Keep pushing forward. And if you do that 100 miler, when you do get out there, don't worry about your time. I mean, except for the time limit, of course, you're trying to
Yeah.
be in front of, but don't worry about like, oh, I got to go out there and just kill it. I got to, they give me 36 hours, but I got to be done in 28 hours or 26. It's like, just take it as it goes and just try to get your first one, done, and feel good. If you feel good at the end of 100 miler, you're going to want to do more. Then you're going to get addicted. But if you just feel trashed, you're hating it, just, because you went too hard, you went too fast, you know, you didn't eat right, you didn't feel right, all that stuff like that. You just, it's not going to be a great time out there.
Wise words. Wise words. You got to enjoy it, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You got to learn to enjoy it, because why are you out there? Why are you sacrificing time away from your family or dog? Well, hopefully the dog can run with you.
Yeah, mine does a little bit.
Yeah. Did you just get a dog? Isn't that dog
She's
fairly new?
5 years old.
5 years
Yeah.
old. Okay.
She's done quite a bit of trail running already. She's done.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Have you ever had moments where she's like wanting to lay down on the trail and you're like, oh no, am I gonna have to carry her back?
This dog's
she
full of
chugs
energy.
along.
Oh yeah, she'll get home after a run and she'll want to play ball. You know, it's like, oh, come on, go lay down, go to sleep now. Go to she's full of energy, that dog, right now.
That sounds like my dog. What kind of dog you got?
Well, she's a mix from a lab, cattle dog, and Weimaraner, I think you call it. But
Okay.
she's got
that makes sense.
Oh yeah, she's got all those dogs in her. Acts like everyone.
Mine's a cattle dog mutt, and she is a fireball for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
they're good.
Yeah, her longest day so far has been a 23 miles. So, but I might push her a little farther at some point this summer.
Yeah, see, I've only taken her for like 16 milers. I have never taken her longer than that, but usually 10 to 16 is what she's always doing. You know?
Yeah, same with mine. Yeah, 10 miles is a walk in the park for her.
Oh yeah. That's cool. We'll have to do a dog run.
Yeah, we will. I'm sure she'll love it.
Yeah.
Well, Tim, thank you for joining us today. I know I'm going to see you on August 22nd, right?
Yeah, I'll be at your other race. Got to sign up for that new one that you got going on.
Heck yeah, up in the Uintas.
Yeah, I'm excited about that one. We got a few other people coming. I'm still trying to round up more people to go. I'll keep hitting them up.
Well, thank you, Tim. You're the best.
Yeah.
If I know we mentioned this earlier, but let's bring it up one more time. If runners want to join your Facebook or Instagram or Strava group, how do they find you again?
Yeah, it's just Homies on the Run. On those 3 links, on Facebook, Strava, and Instagram. If you just type it in, bring it up and just join it. And I post group runs and other things there, and challenges and all that stuff on those things, and and even on Strava, like on the Strava. So on the Facebook, I'll post like the top 50 runners that got distance in every week, and things like that. So if they want to, I know there's a lot of people that like seeing that, go there and see if they made the top 50 list or on there. So yeah.
My one claim to fame is the week I ran the Wyoming Range 100. I finished number 1 on the Homies on the Run weekly mileage. Yeah. And I texted my friend, and actually my friend texted me because he saw it first and he screenshotted it and sent it to me. He's like, dude, number 1. And I was like, my one and only time.
Yeah, I was number 1 this week, and it's been the first time in a long time since I've been number 1, because there's some pretty good runners on there that.
Yeah, there's some runners who are pounding out 100 miles
all the time.
Regularly.
Yeah, all the time. So it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun to see that stuff. Well, Tim, thank you for joining me today. Thank you for what you do with the running community. I really started following Homies a couple years ago, and it's been cool to see what you do and the light you bring, and the community, and how people rally together around this, Homies on the Run brand, and go out and make memories together and form friendships. So thanks for bringing a lot of good into this world.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me on your podcast. And thanks for all the things that you do in the running community are starting to do too, as well in the Evanston area and over here, and all the friends that you made here,
Yeah.
It's been great.
Yeah, it's a good world. It's a good place to be in. So a big thank you goes out to Tim for joining me on the podcast today. I cannot believe I'm the first one to have him on. Ultra running podcasters out there, wherever you are, if you're listening, shame on you. Shame on me for not having him on until 6 years into this podcasting journey. Tim is a legend of the ultra running world. Anyways, what a good guy. What great insights he had. That was awesome to talk to him. So thank you, Tim, for joining me. And, I always like to share an insight that I get from bringing on all these awesome guests that I've had on. And with Tim, he talked about at the end about finding joy in the running, because why the heck are you out there? And that's something we've heard iterated with a lot of guests. But I think Tim really shows it. And I guess combining that with who Tim is and the community he's built, it's made me reflect on my ultra running journey. How I started off, it was just Melody and I running together. We really didn't run with anybody else. Like our first couple of years, it was just me and her. We went to maybe a couple group runs, or we ran a couple times with other people. But honestly, it was just me and her, or we were on our own running. We really weren't involved in the community a lot. But as things progressed, and we've stayed in this, we've become much more involved in the community. Like Tim Sanchez has been involved in the community and helping people build bonds and friendships with one another. And it's made me think, like, I really started finding a lot of my joy in ultra running when I started branching out and running with other people and actually forming more community and getting to know the other runners in the area and forming friendships. Like Tim said, like someone to go have fun with out in these 20, 30 mile runs in the mountains, on the trails, wherever you might be. There's just so much more joy when you share it with someone else. Like, yeah, I found it with my wife when we were dating. It's probably why we got married. We started running together. And we found that joy together. And I've found it with other friends and with even my father-in-law. Everyone talks about in-laws, that they're their worst nightmare. I feel like I have a very deep friend in my father-in-law. That friendship has formed through the years of running together. And having these adventures together in the mountains, and you start talking with one another and really getting to know each other on these trail runs. And yeah, it's fun. I do still enjoy getting out on my own and just having a solo run, but there's really a special joy in running with and supporting other people along the way. So that was my main takeaway as I thought about my conversation with the legend Tim Sanchez. So thank you, Tim, for joining us. And for all those who are listening, we'd like to remind you that Trail the 100 does put on 2 trail races this year. We are back for our second year of the Bear River Trail Race here in Evanston, Wyoming, where we do a 17-miler, a half marathon, and a 10K on really well-groomed trails. There's really not a lot of there's still some good hills that can kick you in the butt. But if you're looking for a good introduction race into trail running, this is perfect introductory trail running race. So Bear River Trail Race, July 11th, happening this year. And then we are also putting on the Uinta Wilderness Ultra, where a half marathon and a marathon distance, marathon plus 27 miles. So ultra, it's more than a marathon, that you can come join us for our inaugural year in the Uintas. They are world-class mountains. Just Google them if you don't know them. Look up Uinta Mountains. It's beautiful. We are super excited to be the only trail race there along the Mirror Lake Highway section of the Uinta Mountains. Just world-renowned, beautiful area. We're excited to put it on this year and hope to grow it and maybe even increase mileage distances in years to come. So I will include links down in the show notes for Tim's Facebook group, Instagram, and Strava, as well as the trail races that Trail the 100 puts on. We would love to have you come join us. And if you can't run it, we're always looking for volunteers. So reach out to me at trailthe100@gmail.com, and I'm sure we could find a job for you. Thank you, everyone, for joining me today. And remember, if you want to run 100 miles, make it happen.